Elba. Leo, this is my family, my husband Eric, my 3 kids, Emil, Enzo, and Elon. Sorry, you will notice they're all E's with 4 letters. Yes. So I have these 2 boys here. They go to PS 163, which is directly behind the library currently. So the main concern that we have as parents, and we're hearing from the community as the news is spreading, because I feel like we really didn't know about it until very recently, until after everything was apparently approved, said and done, is that the construction, which I think right now, for my research and what's been out there, will last about 4 years of drilling and noise and a lot of disruption to the kids who are directly behind that building. It's like separated by a fence. Like the back of the school is direct, like you can see the library and the whole site. And across the street from that site, there's also a police station and the fire department. I know the police station, they use that area to park their cars. So I don't know if it's going to be disruptive to them, but as a parent, I worry about the kids and at the school, and also for the kids that currently use the library for after school reinforcement. And the community, that library is very beloved. It's a like Pat beautifully said, it's a nice facility. It has a lot of resources. We don't know what the satellite replacement library will look like, how resourceful it'll be for the folks who depend on it to look for jobs or whatever it is, or like get reinforcement or get their books and help their kids with their educational needs. So all of those things are very top of mind for some of the parents. I also serve in the school PTA, and it's very hard not to have any more information to provide to families. I know the school principal was completely unaware about it until we brought it up. So it seems like no feedback they didn't seek any feedback from the direct community before any of this. And
that's pretty much correct.
So
nothing has been approved.
Okay.
Nothing has been submitted. The approval of building of the design has been entirely left to the designated developer. And right now, the zoning for that land is a very low zoning district. Okay, the zoning district they're proposing in their meeting is the absolute highest zoning district in the city. So there's a long way between here and there. And in fact, in the timeline that they put out for us, and I have 2 kids further along in the public system. All your kids are going to be in high school by the time that is done. And their timeline for that project that they showed us in the most revised scenario, I think, is about 9 years without anything happening for the first 4 to 5 years.
Yeah.
So
there is though a survey. Have you seen the survey? There's an
I've seen the survey, and as a matter of fact, I completed the survey. The survey did not elicit.
Yeah, I think I just want to be very clear. They have not done any plan. The way this is going to work is that there's going to be something called a request for proposal that will go out, and people will submit. Developers will say, this is what we want to do at the site. Right now, EDC is trying to shape what should be in that RFP. So the reason that no one knows how tall the buildings are going to be or anything is because they are looking to the community to say, what do they want included there? So this is not a situation where like they have some plan that they haven't shared. This is literally the first step of a project where a shovel is not going to hit the ground until 2029. So we're just many years away from that, which is why all of this is so preliminary, which gives us a great opportunity to say what we're concerned about, what we want, what we don't want.
So let me just make a couple of comments. Number one, just to answer her question about what happened with the library when the library was closed from 2020 to 2023. We really did not have a designated alternate library. So that was number one. We had to use whatever library could accommodate our needs. So that's number one. But number two, as I'm listening to your explanation, you're talking about nothing's going to happen as if decisions have already been made. And I'll be perfectly honest with you, we are just now beginning to hear about this. No one came to the community to say, is this something that you support? What we are hearing, and you can certainly correct me if I'm incorrect, but what I am hearing is that there's not going to be a shovel in the ground until 2028, 2029, as if a decision has been made to put a shovel in the ground, and we're just going to be spectators to that. So again, in terms of an alternate library, if past is prologue,
Okay.
we had no provision for an alternate library.
They-
Can I speak to
they-
the issue of libraries, because I'm co-chair of that committee. This is a housing committee, but there's joint jurisdiction with the Youth Education and Libraries Committee. And, you know, we're very concerned about what happens to the library and whether or not, you know, how to make sure the community has the library services that they're entitled to during the time that assuming the project goes forward, that the library is out of commission. It's something that we really want to hear from the community on what they want,
Yeah.
what
So,
is
all I'm-
necessary.
All I'm doing is
They-
sharing with you what our experience was during those 3
They
years.
have offered a temporary library. They have not detailed that. They talk about it in terms of either leasing space elsewhere in the neighborhood, and then they said a bookmobile, which we laugh at. That's ridiculous, we know that. But they really haven't told us what's in the new library. They haven't told us what's in the temporary library. As was mentioned, we are exploring that. I'm on both this committee and that committee. I think you are as well. And once again, it's not that nothing happens, but there's a rezoning process, which involves a lot of work and a lot of hearings, public community board, city council, so forth and so forth. And that takes years and years and years. And then once you get to that, there's still years and years and years in which you have to design it, not you, but the designated developer designs it, builds it. As somebody who actually has been actively involved in the world of public and private construction, I think a 2-year time span is not accurate. I think, like I said, I think a lot of their presentation is not accurate. I don't think it's because they're malevolent. I just don't think they know what they're doing.
So our position, I'll get to in 1 second. Our position as a community board, we met at the Youth Education Libraries Committee last week. Yeah, my gosh, it's been a long time. We met there, and as a committee, we agreed that we would like to see housing on this. We have a series of concerns, both about what the permanent building will look like and also what the interim logistics and temporary library will look like and what it should have.
It does not elicit our concerns about the construction. It elicits our concerns about the library. So that is not an effective survey to capture our concerns.
You can send that to us, and then we will put that together with all the other concerns that we get from the community and send it on to EDC.
So then let me just ask another question. It sounds as though a decision has been made that housing is going to be built on that site. Is that correct?
Mayor Adams. And send that on to EDC for their consideration.
It's not,
It's a
it's,
Euler.
no, Doug, we're years away from Euler.
No, I'm saying that ultimately there's a lot of input because it's a Euler. That's what I'm saying.
We're hoping to get input right now
Yeah.
at the RFP stage before it gets to that. We're hoping to define the
We-
project a little bit.
We have the power of persuasion. Done an R11 yet. This is all
That's
uncharted territory.
Midtown Midtown South. That's,
Midtown zoning had that for years.
You
No.
know, just got
No,
Sorry, can we go ahead,
the
please?
new zoning that was just passed.
Hold on one second.
To me, there's two pieces of this, and I just want to really be clear.
I'm sorry, can you tell us your name? and-
Sorry, I'm sorry, my name's Jessica Mates. Been involved in a lot of rezonings and community issues, and first of all, right now, there is no community planning piece, and EDC doesn't do community planning so well. You know, actually, this should be an HPD project, because HPD actually does do community planning. Community planning is bringing people together, round tables, charrettes, looking at different sizes and funding mechanisms. That's what community planning is. It's not a survey about a library on paper, and it's not just about, well, we hope to give some input, right? So there should be actual community planning process before anything happens, before we're even talking about an RFP. And second of all, you know, it's public land, so it's really, really different from a private plot where we're trying to get a developer to do maybe a little more than MIH, a little more than 30%. It's public land, it's 100% public land. And there's an opportunity to do a whole lot of affordable housing and a full range of types of affordable housing. But it shouldn't be that we're talking about using public land for luxury housing, you know, in this area, especially when people in the room seem to feel really strongly that they wanted affordable housing. So, you know, there's two pieces of it. One is the public land affordable housing, but the first piece has got to be an actual community planning process, not just giving a little input right now.
Hi, I'm John Strasma. I think the name of the area is Northwest. Oh,
Do you mind coming forward? It's hard to hear you for the people online.
okay, yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, now I'm wondering, because we're going to have a new administration right around the corner. And is there a process that this is, our conversation now isn't even going to matter, because there are people that already know about what's going on and they're ready perhaps to take it in a different direction. So I'm wondering if that's been discussed, or can that happen? I don't know.
Okay.
Like one administration does something.
I can answer that. At the end of the Bloomberg administration, Mayor Bloomberg put out a huge number of NYCHA sites for development. So in the last maybe 3 to 6 months, none of those were built. Okay, and that may very well happen here as well, especially after this weekend. So that may be what happens. Maybe not.
But there's no guarantee. Right.
But at the same time, the facts of the world are is that the building they're talking about as an R12 building is a very, very, very expensive building to build. It is not an affordable housing scheme. There's nobody who has built that. Almost nobody has built anything like that as a market rate building, much less a mid-market building, much less a mixed income building. So I don't think it might even be possible to do that. But I'm not going to be judge of that. That's the judge of the
Is that because
proposers
of
and
the
whether they can
height,
find
or-
anybody to do it.
I'm sorry, Ira, is that because of the height? Is it because of the location? Is it?
It's a combination of both. I mean, the only buildings that are in that category for height are like Park Avenue in Midtown, nearby, but near Lincoln Center, we'll get into that, towards that. But the large buildings with mixed income at this height, this size, are very, very expensive to build.
If they were to go lower, could we end up with more affordable
I would
housing?
think,
less, probably less than it would cost the city more.
yeah, this is not a viable economic
I like that.
proposition.
Yeah.
That's Sheldon
Yeah.
control.
So, Ira, you are an expert in building.
Yeah.
But what I would say is that, so the common sense piece is that the larger the scale of the project, much like Mitchell-Lama buildings that we have in which are not R12, but the more housing you have, it's scalable, that hopefully it does result in a net addition of affordable housing within the unit. If you scale down, and by definition, you're probably gonna have less affordable
The
housing.
marginal unit cost goes down with scale.
Yeah.
It's going to go down in scale if it's going to be affordable. We're already running towards $1,000 a foot.
May I ask a question? I am really new to this, but it seems to me that if we have public land that's now been designated to be buildable, why can't people get the affordable housing on that site that they need without, as everyone's saying, scaling up? Who needs the luxury buildings? They're all see-through and they're parking for money laundering. People don't live in these buildings. They're see-through buildings. They don't contribute to the community.
Okay, we're
Why
gonna,
couldn't we
Well-
get even 100% affordable housing?
okay, what we encourage is all of you to send us your comments about the library project. We welcome them and we will incorporate them into what we send to EDC. That is the best thing to do. We have to wrap up this conversation because the rest of our agenda awaits.
I will just say, there are a number of affordable high-rise buildings that have been built in the last 5 to 10 years. One of them is directly south of Hostas Community College in the Bronx. It was the site.
Oh, I know what you're talking about, right in the water.
No, it's actually right on the concourse.
Oh,
It was the site of PS 151. That was affordable. But these buildings took huge public subsidies. Similarly, Via Verde, which is up on Brook Avenue, in this context is a mid-rise when you're talking about a 1,200 square foot building. These are tall buildings, but these, and particularly Via Verde, took a very substantial public subsidy. I had some tangential involvement with both those, very tangential, but it can be done,
sorry, Richard, go ahead.
but not at 1,200 feet.
Richard,
Yeah, it seems to me that we really ought to be focusing a little bit on this before there's an RFP. Number one, we need to find out what the status is of temporary removing the library from its present site. And number two, we need to sign in on what the RFP should contain. If we want to have 100% affordable housing, we want to say that. If we want 50% affordable housing, we say that. But the time to do that is approaching. And I think what we're going to have is we have 2 committees that are focusing on this. We're going to keep it at the top of our agendas. And as soon as we're able, we're going to develop a community input program to develop our position on what the RFP should contain and what is required for replacing temporarily the library. And that will take place sometime in the next few months. But we hear your concerns, we share your concerns. Some of the concerns we may not be able to deal with, such as construction noise. But in terms of finding a replacement for the library temporarily, in terms of how high the building should be, in terms of what percentage should be affordable housing, these are things that we can outline to the city and request that they include in the RFPs.
the last round of comments, please.
I missed that, the gentleman's name, but
Ira.
did you mention there was a similar project behind PS 151? Is that correct?
Ira.
She's asking you another project behind.
Did you mention there was a similar
151?
project
One in the
behind
Bronx.
PS 151? Is that the school you mentioned?
PS 151 in the Bronx.
In the Bronx.
The building was demolished. It's complete now. I don't remember the size of it. I don't remember the public subsidy that was involved. I think one of the issues here is in the Manhattan plan, there's a plan for each borough, correct?
No.
No, just Manhattan.
Just Manhattan.
Okay, there's a limited amount of public subsidy. And so they're trying to get as many sites for as little public subsidy as possible. Without getting into some of the details of this, they have a backlog of years and years of buildings that are ready to go, they don't have the financing for it. So with that said, they're trying to figure out how to do this without using city resources. That's the quandary they're in.
I have a question about public housing, rather public financing subsidy. There are many of us who would like to be able to invest in New York City. And why can't we float muni bonds? So if you want to do affordable housing and it's difficult for you to get subsidy from whatever budget there is, why don't we do it under a muni bond that's tax-free to people? I just invested in Westchester muni bonds. Why should I invest in Westchester when I can invest here?
Please send us your comments. Send us that comment. Last comment, please.
Where do I put the comment?
You can email the CB7 office. I will get you that email in 1 minute.
Okay.
My question is, why can't
Typically, so this did feel like an end run around us. We have laid out an agenda, timetable. We are just trying to sort of get our input in their timetable. That doesn't mean that what we say has to be go for it. It could be, hey, we have deep concerns and we don't believe this RFP should go out. That's also an option, right? The mayor's office, EDC, the library, and Department of Health are all.
They've been very, very vague on the specifics, and they change between each meeting, and they're still very vague. That's both a virtue and a problem to all of us.
Yeah, and anticipating that you're going to have a new administration, new people in health, everybody new, that's going to also present challenges.
And the selection will be done by the new administration. The proposal is being done by the old administration. And if I were to put a bet on it, I don't gamble, so I would consider this an investment, they would start the process all over again.
Okay, so let's move on. Our email is on the CB7 website, so you can find it there. Please send us your feedback. And it sounds like maybe Minna, what do you think about us having another meeting to discuss?
I think we need to.
Perhaps, do you want to host that or should we host that? What do you think?
CB7 office.
Maybe,
I mean, it's the same week. I would prefer,
Office
I think,
at gmail.com.
you host it because I will be on an airplane for the next one.
okay, so let us plan, mark your calendars, the next Housing and Land Use Committee meeting, which is typically the third Wednesday of the month. We will discuss this issue. Please come, please bring your comments.
Wednesday, today's Monday.
And it will be a joint.
This is a special meeting. It's our
Oh,
second
okay,
meeting.
okay.
Sorry, yes.
I'm gonna do everyone a favor, take those kids off so you guys can focus.
Thank you very much for
Thank
coming.
you very much.
Thank you.
for coming.
Thank you very much for.
We will see you.
So that would be a joint meeting.
That'll be a joint meeting.
Why, yeah.
Yes, yes. Okay, so let's move on to Manhattan Plan. Should I pull up the document? Okay.
Did you read the draft again?
Oh, no, that's fine. Okay.
What's the email? Seema?
It's MN.
Oh, yeah. I gave you the wrong one.
Sorry,
Joyce.
mn07@cb.nyc.gov. Okay, we were talking about the Manhattan Plan. Go for it.
Yes, so, first of all, what is the Manhattan Plan? Someone asked. So the Manhattan Plan is an initiative that is looking to reverse the trend of, lack of housing supply in Manhattan. And the goal is to add 100,000 new homes in the borough over the next decade, to put Manhattan past the 1 million homes mark. So the GCP, which is the Department of City Planning, has approached community boards and the public, they're having public events, and they're asking for suggestions from anyone who lives, works, or spends time in Manhattan about how to improve housing in Manhattan. So that could be anything. It could be a site that we identify. It could be new rules. It could be new laws. It could be new zonings. So that is what we are here to discuss. So we formed a working group, and we came up with a list of options, which we are here to present for discussion. So there are three main categories that we've identified that we think would help. And the first is legalizing SROs. So SROs are a unit where single residency
Single resident occupancy.
single resident occupancy. They are also called micro units for shared facilities. And it basically means that each unit does not have to have its own bathroom and kitchen. Residents can share kitchen and bathroom facilities. The benefit to this is it allows for a lower priced unit to provide more affordable housing in the area. SROs were very common, in particular in this neighborhood decades ago, but were rendered illegal a while back. But there's a lot of consensus that this is a good option for being able to provide housing for people who are single, younger people who might not want a larger unit, or older people as well. So two things would have to change at the city level for this. The zoning text to make it a permitted use, and then the housing maintenance code to change mobility standards. Then at the state, you have to change multiple dwelling law, and then you have to reduce the minimum size to something like, we put in 120 square feet here. That is the size for hotels. So the logic there is, if you can live legally in a hotel indefinitely, that should be a similar standard as living in a SRO. Should we open up for comments on this? Yes.
Wait, hold on, first board comments?
Who was on our task force? I didn't even recall we had one, but.
Yeah, so
It was, so in our June meeting, our last meeting, we asked for anyone interested, raise your hand, and so it was
myself, Seema,
Ira, Ethel and Shelley, and Louisa.
And then our public member, Patrick, also joined the call. Thank you.
Am I imagining this, or was this an initiative that ultimately didn't get passed in the city of Yes?
No, it did get passed, so City of Yes removed all the zoning prohibitions on SROs.
Right.
But they're still in the rest of, both at the multiple dwelling law at the state level and a couple of other areas in the city.
Okay, so it's a multi-level process.
Exactly, so
Thank
we
you.
just want to sort of take it.
This is a cleanup.
Yeah.
It's like interstate cannabis.
That went smoothly.
Have had the very unpleasant experience of being in some of our infamous SROs from the past. They were horrendous places to live. And I'm wondering why we're saying that this is a thing we want to bring back, especially at 120 square feet, which is barely, larger than an 8x8 box, which
12 by 10.
Twice the size.
So SROs have served a fabulous function in New York. In the 70s and 80s, they were allowed to decline and were encouraged to decline in their physical structure and the way people lived in them, because J51, which was a tax incentive, was afforded to them to upgrade their buildings, and they tried to empty the SROs any way they could, including by making them horrible places to live. But historically they weren't. And so I was the head of the West Side SRO Law Project for many years, and we litigated many issues having to do with SROs. The people who lived in SROs were very different. Some were SROs that only had single women who wanted to live in a protected way in New York. Others were exclusively, and more of them were exclusively men. They were by and large not men and women in the same building. They gave a wonderful place for loners. That's not a nice sounding word, but there are people who live very well, but don't have families, don't have connection to the community. And SROs were a perfect place. And ironically, after the Second World War, which none of us were out for, it was a place that returning veterans came to and lived well, and it saved them having been homeless when they came back from the war. So I think that our most recent experience with SROs is when the city was encouraging landlords to demolish them and give them to people. And I don't think that that's really the way to do it.
There's a really phenomenal article that came out on SROs recently, and just to your point, after World War II, 10% of everyone in New York City lived in it. 10% of apartments in New York City were SROs. And the other thing that I think is relevant is when we were discussing City of Yes, which changed the zoning to allow slightly larger SROs than we're proposing here. We actually heard from a number of members of the public who came and said that when they first moved to New York City, they were able to live in an SRO, and then as they, got a nicer job, they were able to move into a larger apartment. And often they were living in, there used to be in New York City tons of SROs for only women, for example. And it was just a very safe, community-oriented way for people to first move to the city. So we've actually heard from a lot of people who said that's how they got their start on the Upper West Side, because the Upper West Side is one of the neighborhoods in New York City that actually maintained a fair number of their SROs. So this is really about kind of returning to an era where the Upper West Side was much more affordable than it is today.
And adding it back as a sort of another housing type in our mix is something that.
My husband is one of those people who came to New York. He lived in an SRO on 88th Street. My only problem with it is I think that we should make the dimensions of the room larger. We are talking about this as permanent residences. The other thing is,
What would you suggest?
architect, tell me what we could do.
Well, that goes back to
200, 250?
well, you can go back to the idea of the micro unit, which was not different than the SRO, but that basically is a self-contained studio.
I'm incredibly opposed to that.
Okay, but I'm just saying that's one model, and the city did a pilot of that. And I've done some also under HPD programs.
And that was how much? It was 350, 420? I can't remember.
It was like 320 or something like
Inclusive
that.
of bathrooms, right? The kitchenette?
Included bathroom, included kitchen.
Yeah.
That's
And
a
some-
different thing, that's what.
Yeah.
Right, but
But-
that's.
But the classic SRO wasn't the hotel room. Classic SRO was an apartment that might have had 4 or 6 bedrooms. And there'd be a key to that door, and each person would have a room in it, and then there'd be a common kitchen.
This is like dorm rooms now.
It's basically a college dorm.
Railroad.
It's basically a railroad where people had their own individual rooms, and quite honestly, you weren't supposed to put keys on, but people did, and you shared a bath and a kitchen responsibilities, and then there'd always be some argument over who was supposed to clean the bathroom.
I'm just
Miriam.
saying, I'm sorry. I'm just saying that these are permanent residences and we want to treat people with dignity. And for 6 people to share a bathroom, I think is difficult.
That was the point Shelley was making a few weeks ago, that even within the confines of Wiz Fish, the shared bathrooms aren't flying very well, which puts you back somewhere between the micro unit and an SRO. So would you share?
I just want to say that, I'm very much in favor of this. Bigger rooms, maybe shared bathrooms in terms of maybe 1 bathroom between 2 rooms. Shared like that. There's a degree of privacy that we want to. You're the expert on this, which I hadn't realized.
You're middle class.
Miriam?
There are people who are not like middle class like we are that need all of that privacy. It just works. In most of the SROs on the west side, when the landlords weren't trying to get rid of it, people lived comfortably in small units. They were required at that point, I think, to have 80 square feet for an SRO. So I'm not saying that's ideal, but I think that when we're talking about 120 square feet now, it's a lot larger. And it's for one person, it's not for a couple, and it's not for kids, it's a person. And the question is, can a person feel comfortable living like that? And apparently many did.
It's a dorm room.
Hold on, guys. Miriam?
Yeah, I was gonna say, when I first moved to New York, I had a room that was at least less than 8 by 10, right? That's what I could afford. I shared a bathroom with someone I had never met. And, you know, that was okay with me. So I think that I appreciate your point, which is I don't think we should attach value to size or how many people we share with just because we live in a different way potentially.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would have been open to sharing a bathroom with more people if it was more affordable. So all I wish to say is I think one, the unit size would just be your personal space. There's also shared space, which we're not accounting for. And I am aware that HPD and some of the other groups that would regulate this are looking at the number of bathrooms and kitchens that we share per person. So again, I think remaining maybe more open and neutral on that is okay, because we know that the other groups are looking at the number. But all I wish to say is I think being open to different sizes than maybe something that you live in currently or have lived in the past is okay. Because yeah, I did live in a room that was much smaller than 120 square feet. And and I shared a bathroom with someone I didn't know, and it was, you know, a positive experience. And obviously there are negative experiences, but I think being open and not being too restrictive is positive when we share our suggestions on this.
Klari?
Yeah, I also have some concerns, I think, as Louisa does, that 120 square feet for somebody, a single person, long-term, with all the rights apparently of a tenant in, which are pretty strong these days, of a rental tenant in New York. Without kitchen and bathroom or hallway, that is still includes closet, if you have a closet, I assume, and it's pretty teeny. But my other concern about it is whether it's a maximum of 6 unit, well, maximum, as you say, of 6 units sharing a kitchen and bathroom, but it could be fewer, is number one, on the one hand, all it takes is one slob to make you miserable with a shared bathroom or a shared kitchen. And number two, it's all too common that, or I think it is pretty much the case in general, that the more people you have sharing something, the less any one person has individual responsibility for maintaining it. And then you get a mess. So what I don't see here, I don't understand about this, is who has the responsibility for cleaning the kitchen? Who has the responsibility for cleaning the bathroom? Is this a rental unit where there's a landlord and a super equivalent who has the responsibility to maintain? So it's not the responsibility of the 1 to 6 people, or landlord. Okay, I think that's not at all
A lot of
clear.
this is in the housing maintenance code, actually.
Yeah, I think some of this is too much in the weeds for us, like maybe we
Yeah.
shouldn't be talking about that
Yeah, we don't
level.
need to apply necessarily.
But I guess the concept is, are we okay with SROs as a housing type that we would like to see legalized?
Can I ask a question and then I have 2 concerns and then I'd be happy, whatever. One is, are we still paying exorbitant rates for SROs that the city is paying? The last time I was involved, $3,750 a month for people to be in an SRO, 1 room, which I thought was outrageous. And the second question is, would you consider SROs in this suite kind of arrangement for people with mental health problems and disabilities, where you could have staffing for those individuals
Yeah,
on site?
supportive housing does offer
There, you do that already.
SROs.
Yeah, and
yes.
also, we would not be dictating the price, we would just be saying this is allowed. And they could be subject to rent stabilization or market rates, just like any other.
I'm just concerned about how much are we paying the landlords?
But
Because
this is not us
We're not
paying the
paying the
landlords. We're
We're
just
advising her.
allowing this housing type to be developed, is what this is
Yeah.
saying.
I see.
We're not developing it, the
Yeah.
city's not developing it. Sarah, go.
I think there's a mix-up. I think you're thinking about homeless people who are housed by the city. That has nothing to do with this discussion.
Right.
Oh, I see.
This
Okay.
is a private property that landlords rent to individual people. And the question is, will they allow it again in New York, and what the construction is?
Right.
The concept is one thing, and how large it is and how many people share bathrooms, totally different. But I mean, if we think that it's a good concept, that's great, then we can have hire other people work on the
I
Right,
don't
the
even think,
details.
I don't even think we have to weigh in on the actual.
Yeah, we can maybe
square feet.
take that
We
out.
can
I
just
think
say
take it out,
reduce
yeah.
the minimum size, something adequate for, we could
single
write
adult.
for single adult. We don't have to weigh in on that,
Yeah.
exactly.
With accommodation for shared facilities.
By the way,
This was partially informational, so we know what exactly would have to happen. I mean, I think the main takeaway is it needs both city and state action,
Right.
right? So we should be clear about that, right? Just like many things, if you want to raise taxes, same thing afterward. So that's, part of this is just to inform everyone what's the ramifications.
Seema?
Yeah, sorry, go ahead, Richard.
Yeah, I'd like to add my voice to those who think that the sharing of 6 by 6 units is a little excessive. And I think it will be viewed as such by the legislature. I think something like 3 or 4 unit maximum would make more sense. And it may result in slightly fewer units, but in much more humane living conditions.
Okay.
Richard, I think I mean, we gonna decide how many like toilets are in each thing? Like, I went to one of the fanciest colleges in America and I shared a bathroom with 35 other guys and it was totally fine because it was a big bathroom. So I think like this conversation's kind of getting a little
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Well, I did the same thing, and in my college, we didn't have doors on the stalls back in the 60s. But still, we're talking about adults. We're not talking about college students, and we're talking about mixed genders. And I just think that 6 people sharing a kitchen and 6 people sharing a bathroom is slightly, it is a little too much.
The floor already exists.
All right, let's
I
move
think
on.
our
Debatable.
I think we are in favor of SROs.
Conceptual.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I love
Yeah.
Details
Absolutely.
linked to others.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so we can move on. We can,
This is the
we will
city
not,
planning website right
opine
now,
on
which is
exact
obviously
square
an
footage
error.
or number of units. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so the next item here are, we looked at, city-controlled parcels where housing construction could occur.
It hasn't
So,
been signed. I know, and I know it's been signed.
Ira,
Yeah, sorry.
so we looked at, city-controlled parcels, where construction could occur. So these include post offices, schools, libraries, FDNY facilities, and NYPD facilities. So we have 2 post offices. We have 7 schools. We have 10 schools, and then 2 firehouses and 2 police precincts. You can see the zoning there. Most of them are low-rise buildings, 3 to 4 stories. And the schools have, a large playground. So the lot size would allow for, construction above the school. So these are just, possibilities. We're not necessarily saying that we should build on all of these, but these are just a list of, potential places where the city could build if it wanted to.
So post offices are federally owned. What is the principle there?
So why are
There's been a lot of discussion in the past of the federal government working with, in the same way that out west, they've opened up some federal land for housing construction, that the corollary in urban areas was to look at redeveloping some of the lots that they own. And so you would have a transfer to the local government or to the state potentially, but there's been a lot of discussion about this sort of thing before.
Can you give an example of federally owned land in the city?
Post offices.
Post offices.
the forts on,
Governor's Island.
Governor's Island.
Actually, a
Moynihan
great,
was
yeah.
public-private
Moynihan's
partnership is
And
probably the most famous.
the one that's probably the furthest along is there's a parking garage on Lafayette that's owned by the General Services Administration. And under the prior administration, there was discussion of building housing there. The one thing I would just say on this is one of my favorite places we meet as a full board is the Kaplan Penthouse at Lincoln Center. And that's like a really great example of a public site that was redeveloped to have a new library, a new fire station, lots of housing and public spaces
And
stuff
nonprofit.
and nonprofit. So I think like on the Upper West Side, we actually have one of the best examples already to build off of.
And one of the things about the schools is that a lot of them have large schoolyards. So your floor area can be increased enormously because I don't think there are any schools more than 6 stories and most are less.
Well, I would just qualify that as being on the education committee. A lot of
Yeah,
those are
not putting
joint
on top of the
park,
Playground area, the idea would be to take
park,
that
that's, a
floor
lot of them
area
are park department
onto
land,
preserving
park?
equipment.
public park, which presents a real problem for,
That is a real problem. The ones that are not public parks.
well, unfortunately, that happens to be my kid's elementary school. But, that's the only one that
Which one is that?
is noticeable, on that.
Which
But-
one is your kids?
199? Oh,
But,
Okay.
and I think there are a couple, but most of them are joint parks, DOE.
Yeah, but they're joint parks, but they do have some of their own playground space, right? There's usually a fence where
There's,
it
if it's
demarcates the school.
no, either have a pure DOE land or you have parks slash, DOE.
Okay, that's
So-
interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, and the joint parks DOE land don't even think about it. It's,
So this is called the Manhattan Plan, but it's really the Upper West Side plan.
no, so what happens with the Manhattan Plan is that they have gone out to all of the community boards and said, tell us your ideas for building housing in your district.
Yeah, so other boards have done this. We talked to Community Board 8, they submitted something. And Community Board 4 as well submitted something. So yeah, all community boards are looking at their own neighborhoods and seeing what could be done.
The one PS 75, is that not a landmark building?
75 is not,
It's not landmark?
and I think their playgrounds are, DOE land.
Oh, no,
However,
I'm thinking of the other one.
I would
I'm
not,
sorry. It's a,
if anybody remembers, they, Educational Construction Fund put out 3 Manhattan sites. Actually, they put out 4 Manhattan sites, but they did a batch of 3, about, I don't even remember. And they did one on the east side, Upper East Side, that was a vacant school to begin with, that got built. They did another one, which was the High School of Arts at 57th and Second, that got built. But they did 2 in this neighborhood. One was PS 191 and the other was PS 199.
Yeah.
And there was furious neighborhood opposition to that, as well as there was an option for swing space at that time. There isn't anymore. And then they did try to do another one, which is the vocational high school at 96th and First. And the strategy there was to swap it with the map park land that went with that school. So they build on the map park land and then build a park, which would have been part of the larger park that was already on First Avenue. That went nowhere either, and that got killed in the legislature. And
So can we,
so those are the
but I want to
problems.
ask the question I
Please.
was trying to ask. I asked you about the wrong building. I'm gonna ask it about the St. Agnes branch. That is a landmark building.
That's the library.
Landmark District, I think, maybe.
No, the building itself is a landmark building. It's built with Carnegie funds and it's a New York City landmark.
So then it would require permission from the landmark preservation.
we would have to go, we wouldn't,
What's-
supersede
what's-
any LPC
Yeah,
action.
it would just.
It would just have another step in the process. Are you saying it shouldn't be?
I'm saying if it's a landmark building, why are we proposing that we?
Which building are we talking about?
St.
I
Agnes?
don't think, I don't think
What?
anything
St.
on
Agnes
this is
Library.
saying
Oh.
this is a spot where we want to tear it down. I think in the case of St. Agnes, it's a landmark building. You might see something like where you could imagine that allowing development in the buildings next to it would allow the transfer of development rights that the city owns to, you know, help facilitate affordable housing elsewhere on the block or something.
It's
Yeah.
not
So-
that big a lot. It's not gonna make that much.
Yeah.
But I don't think anything here is saying, this is a list of things where we're like, these are areas we think are worth exploring.
Yeah,
And this was just to say that,
We're not saying move the school, move PSX and build housing, we're saying build around it, if anything, right?
There were scenarios in each of these where we had where there were schoolyards where you could build on the schoolyard. In the case of 191 and 199, there was physical swing space at 80 West End at the time, which now there isn't.
I mean, we can take it off the list if you think it shouldn't be considered.
Well, I think that it should be clear that where it's a landmark building, we're not proposing to destroy the landmark. We're
Okay, we can-
proposing
we
I
can
don't
make that
to
note.
transfer
If
the
it's landlocked, I don't think we should be.
We can take it off.
should be-
yeah, let's take it off the list.
Yeah.
So we're taking off the St. Agnes Library.
Could you go up at the top? How do you have this list labeled?
This is potential reconstruction options. So we could, I mean, I think the intention, I'm speaking for Tibita, so correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the intention is, this is relatively speaking, low hanging fruit because it's city owned property or in some cases federally owned property. So easier to see housing construction on that.
I think if you're going to talk about federal buildings, you cannot call it a city control.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Mhm.
Yes, I did not realize federal, thank you.
Also, I think you're saying two different things that are contradictory. One is these are sites where construction could occur, but the most recent remarks, I think, from Tibita were more like, oh, we don't mean at these sites, but it could be like, so, and not just at St. Agnes branch, but around or on the block or so.
When I said around, I mean, basically, I mean, you, for instance, if the school is 3 stories, you build stories 4 to X.
Oh, that's not
Housing
what it
above
sounded like, although I think
That's
there
what
was
I
the
meant.
air rights issue with,
Well, yeah, what I meant is the school would remain, right, and then you, because it's underbuilt, right, it's using less than half of its zoning, so it's what's called a soft site. It's a ripe option for new housing construction.
isn't
Well,
that IRA particularly expensive?
What?
Is that?
I don't
what
think
you
he's
already
saying
have?
literally you keep the building as it is and you add 3 stories on top. Sometimes it would be that, you know, like, as an example of how this could play out, fire department station, fire department says we can manage by, you know, temporarily like staging 2 fire trucks at another station that park outside or something. You tear down the fire station, you build a new school with housing on top. That's 3 blocks away from the existing school. You move the school into that school. Now the school's empty. You build, you know, the new library and the apartment building on top of it. And you like play a game of checkers as you like move through.
Yeah.
So everything, like all the city services remain throughout this. That's like the example I was talking about before with the library and the fire station at Lincoln Center. That was a high school that got torn down because they didn't need the high school. And they built the library, the fire station and that. And then that meant, you know, you could tear down a different fire station. So that's the kind of idea that gets
And this
played
is a
here.
list of places with which you can play that game of checkers, right? If you look at it holistically and say, okay, within this neighborhood, where are the various sites, possibilities like schools, fire departments,
Well,
et cetera.
the real dominoes is he's talking about, and everybody at the table will shoot me for this, but you move the police station and the fire station to where the library is, and you set up the overbuild at the same time, then you have 2 sites.
Yeah, there's all sorts of different things you
But
can
that
do.
is, if you were really into creating housing and not trying to score political points or to satisfy community demands, both of which are interrelated, that's what you would do. But we're not, how can I put it? We're not doing that, but that's how you would do
But
it.
we could suggest it.
I go back to the Mitchell-Lama plans way back when, which I think were a really good model for housing. And in some Mitchell-Lamas, if I recall, actually have a school at the base of the building. which is like kind of the end product of what I think we're talking about now, is that theoretically,
Well, you're thinking
because you have all the FAR available, Trinity, Cooper Gramercy, other,
Trinity almost lost its space because of the Mitchell Hall conversion.
yeah, I'm just saying the potential, if you have unused air rights and you still are going, you can have a site where you keep a school and then you have more housing on top of it. It is, but it's obviously a game of checkers, as Ira said, it's not easy, but.
One of the other things is, and I once again, I wasn't around for Mitchell-Lama, but I know the buildings. Mitchell-Lama was targeted not at 40% or 60% of AMI. It was further.
Yeah,
up
it was
along
middle
that.
income, but,
Right.
but I'm just talking about the physical structure.
Yeah, I think everyone here is in agreement that we would like something to happen with these sites and think this is, not all of these sites at once, but
I'm not 100% sure that I do agree that I want something at these sites, because I think that when you take away a school with a large playground, you really lose something important, and
I don't think anyone's advocating that.
The playground.
Whatever school is, let's say, the site of a future development would be replaced,
right, including the playground.
Yeah.
including the playground.
I think we have to make that clear.
Okay,
Okay,
yes.
because the whole idea is that you're taking a school that is 5 stories and you're making a building that is residential and that will still have a school at the bottom with the playground next to it.
Yeah.
The playground would remain. All the playground is doing, and it's very important, is providing FAR.
Right, but
Well,
what concerns me is if we say this site is available,
Without
some
specifying.
developer is going
We
to
Yeah,
say.
air rights above it.
Yes.
Well,
Yeah, right.
they did this in Brooklyn on 4th Avenue. It started off as an ECF project, and then they didn't like the proposals they got. So what they ended up doing was they ended up building a new school on the play yard, and they demolished the old school, and that became the new play yard. It was minimally disruptive. Unfortunately, they lost about 100, 150 units of affordable housing they could have gotten had they liked other parts of the proposal. But that was, there was a developer that was willing to do that, but the Department of Education and the Educational Construction Fund weighed the two options, and they went for demolish the building and after they built the new building. So these options do exist.
I agree that if we have, general principles, we should be clear about them.
I think
not
about
assume.
it, so.
Yeah.
We have a lot of Q&A.
Oh,
Just FYI,
I do? I don't see any.
when the screen was up. Maybe it's on the,
I don't have any.
if you go at the bottom of your Zoom screen, see on the bottom there Q&A, you got 12 Q&A.
Oh, Q&A, sorry, I have not. Oh, I think we're. Okay, I will take a look at that.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I'm doing that for everybody.
Okay, so we.
Klari, did you have something?
I mean, I think we're making it maybe too complicated and it should be more a matter of labeling. I mean, I agree with our new member, and my name's Klari, and I don't remember. yours.
My name's Minna.
Minna, right, hello. I don't agree with Adam that we have would like to see, if I understood what Adam most recently said, building at each of these sites. But I don't think our label has to say that, and I think that's way more than we need to say. I think all we intend to do here is to say these are sites, minus the post offices, because they are not city controlled, that might be, that the city has some control over and that might be explored for housing. We don't have to say we favor any of them, or we favor all of them. We can just say these, I think that was your intent.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But I don't think you can leave the post office.
I think I think it would be fine to put the post offices and say that
We recognize.
we
they're
recognize
federally-
that they're federally owned, but I think it would be silly of us not to. A post office is probably one of the easiest things to move, so I think,
Okay, and Tibita has already edited that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They're
so
gonna be used if you want some for barracks.
Okay, shall we continue? Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay,
Do you want to do privately owned parcels first?
yeah, so privately owned parcels, similar idea, these are sites that are underbuilt, meaning they're using less than 50% of their zoned FAR, right? So an example is on 83rd Street, you have a strip there where it's there's R8B like most of the mid block, right, our neighborhood. But it's
all commercial.
But it's also overlaid with C25, right? That's the only C25 in our district. So partially because of that, you have these, low-rise parking garages there, right? That are 4 stories. So there's 2 of them, 157 West 83rd and 147. These same idea. These are parcels where one could easily, build more housing on top of.
There's more pressure.
And
All right.
What it is an Apple gift card. Which I believe is made up.
I'm happy to unmute, but we have no audio or video from the room, so I have no idea who I'm talking to when you ask me to unmute.
Well, the owl is not called here.
No, this.
Yeah.
Yeah, Richard.
So it might just be an issue with what Alon was hearing.
No, there's a YouTube. The YouTube stream has about 5 people in here just repeatedly saying there's no audio. Please let us in.
So sorry. We're having some Wi-Fi issues in the office.
YouTube stream, not the Zoom.
No, it is both the YouTube stream and the Zoom.
Oh, thank you.
Can you hear us? He can talk. Do you mind just talking? I'm not sure. I apologize for the technical difficulties.
Can we lose him again?
There we go. Okay, go for it.
I was just trying to make sure you all were aware that the video and audio have been cut out for nearly 30 minutes. There was a lot of people in the chat trying to get your attention. So thank you for, if you fix that, thank you. I'm gonna go on mute until I have no idea where we are in the conversation at this point, so I won't try to interrupt it further.
I see. So sorry.
Bummer.
Okay. So should we address Klari's motion?
I mean, I don't know how many people would agree with me, but collectively, I think this last thing does not appeal to some of us and maybe should be there.
Okay, so I'd like to highlight 2 comments that were made. One was that Louisa said that would you be okay with the Broadway corridor concept where we make all of Broadway R10? Okay.
No.
Okay. That's one thing we could vote on. Also Seema had mentioned that she was in support of the location at 72nd Street and at 110th Street. So we could vote on all of them separately. There's only 5 of them. Vote on those 2.
It's a whole list.
There's 5 parks and 2 corridors.
Well, but sorry, Adam, go.
I think I just want to like contextualize things. You know, our neighborhood in 2024 had 0 new affordable apartments. 0. CB7 is one of the biggest community districts, if not the biggest community district in New York City. All of the new development that we have seen has been without affordable housing. We haven't had a private ULURP in this neighborhood in a decade. The only ULURP we've had.
96th Street.
Oh, that's right. Fettner?
Fettner.
Yeah.
Yeah. What year was that?
That was 2 years ago?
Yeah, 2-3 years.
Okay. Wishfish was another one, I guess, which may be private.
No, it's
Yeah.
HBK was
yeah.
actually the applicant.
Regardless, I think the point is like, if we're gonna get affordable housing, it's not gonna be by saying, well, here are 2 parking lots that like someone should go do a ULURP on. So I think that for us to build the amount of affordable housing that we want, we need to pick a lot of sites for it to happen. Because if we say, well, we'll do a Bloomingdale library, we'll do, a post office, we'll do this, like, it's just not gonna be the number of units that we want. So I think we kind of have to be pretty maximalist in what we're thinking in terms of like where the spots where we could have development, what could it look like? Or otherwise we're gonna end up in a situation like last year where we don't build any affordable housing. And maybe the answer is that CB7 says, well, there are other parts of the city that are better suited to build affordable housing. But I think the point of the Manhattan plan is Manhattan used to be the engine of New York City housing, and it's why Manhattan is the best borough. So I think we would be remiss if we said, well, actually, we think it's perfect the way it is. And yeah, there's an affordable housing crisis, but there are only a couple sites where we think we could build affordable housing, and that's it.
By the way, just on one your point, Fentner was, while it was a ULURP, it was for disposition of city land. So that doesn't quite.
Yeah, we haven't had a rezoning.
We have one comment from the public, Carolyn Messner.
Yes, I'm concerned that we're not addressing the Extell issue on West 66th Street.
The 100-story.
Building a 100-story Empire State Building.
That is our next topic.
Residential building. What is being done? We haven't even gotten to that issue. And that is, to me, that is the elephant on the table. That is the biggest issue right now confronting the West Side. They're taking over the entire ABC from West 66th Street.
If you can hang on for 10 minutes, 5 minutes, we will get there. That's our next agenda item.
Are we getting there? Because it didn't seem that way. We're talking about everything but.
I promise we're getting there.
Yes, we are following our agenda, and this was our first agenda item.
At the end of the agenda? Why wouldn't it be at front?
No, our first agenda item is the Manhattan Plan. We will get there. That's our next agenda item.
Are we getting there? Because it didn't.
She's watching a YouTube.
On the issue of that we didn't build any affordable housing in this area, a lot of that's because the building that has taken place is as of right.
Yeah.
And what we're doing is we're scraping to find sites that might possibly be appropriate for inclusionary housing, but what that does is it leaves the pressure on the neighborhood of all the new development that's happening, and the issue with pressure on the schools, pressure on transportation. There's no relief for that, and we're trying to scrape up other sites where affordable housing can be built, and yet we have a huge amount of development going on. So it seems to me that it would be better to find ways to get the development that is happening to include affordable housing than scrape up new sites that are not currently development sites in order to get the affordable housing we're looking for.
Right, but I understand that would be an ideal thing to say to developers that they have to build affordable housing. But the mechanism that we have in New York City to tell developers that they have to build affordable housing is mandatory inclusionary housing, which requires changing the zoning. There's no way to, I apologize. You can also have state tax incentives that are sometimes successful, like 421A, but on the Upper West Side, they build condos and don't take it. So I think for the Upper West Side, the way to force developers to build affordable housing is to find sites where the zoning can change and have mandatory inclusionary housing mapped.
I personally would like to see us do both, like get as much of the current development to be affordable as possible.
The proposal on the board was to rezone some of these sites.
Yeah, because I think you have to.
Excuse me. I think, Saralee, did you have your hand up?
I was just saying, we're getting into the nitty-gritty on this, and I thought we could okay the concepts or not okay the 3 concepts, and then maybe as a smaller group, just try to work out.
So we need to get this passed by the full board in order to send it on to city planning. They're technically closing their comment period at the end of September. So
By the end of September. So we
we're
need
racing
to do it by the 7th.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why we're having this second meeting. Otherwise, we would have
But
put it
even
off.
now, I mean, this is quite a big conversation.
It is, it is.
So we reached a consensus on the first 2. I would say on this one, similar to the last one with the list of public sites, we're not necessarily saying that we, have to rezone all of this. We're saying that here are places where we could
explore.
rezone. And it, ultimately will not be up to us, right? It will be up to the city. So we're just saying that here are sites, here are areas where, for whether it's the soft sites you identified, whether it's because it's contextual, as Adam pointed out, along certain avenues, where we think it makes sense to rezone for more housing and to mandate that it must include affordable housing, 20 or 30%, right? Right, which is, this is, to touch on the next topic, right? Exactly what we would want, right, from Extell is for them to have to do 20 or 30%, right? Right, we would love if if that was zoned that way then. So here we're saying, we're going to allow more density, but we're going to mandate that it has to be 20 to 30% affordable, right? And we're not doing R12, we're doing R11, where the buildings will be just like the buildings that already exist along West End, along Broadway, along Amsterdam Place, right?
Okay, so we have a comment from Richard, one comment from the public, and then I think we should make a motion. Okay, Richard, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I've been on the board long enough to know, to have lived through, public viewing about zoning, that when I first joined the board, the impetus was to keep the zoning as low as possible, because there was a feeling that the community was too dense, and that it was a burden on transportation and on schools and other things. We now live in a neighborhood where there's a lot of vacancies in stores. We have a lot of larger buildings that have been built that have, basically destroyed the skyline, and we have a community board that is very much in favor of affordable housing. Well, if you put all those things together, it no longer makes sense to retain original zoning, where by upzoning a slight amount, we can gain the affordable housing that everybody agrees we need. There's no, as they pointed out many times, as Gary Barnett points out every chance he gets, you're on the street, you look up, there's no difference between a 30-story building and a 50-story building and even a 100-story building. And if we can eke out some affordable housing by upzoning, I think it's something that needs to be considered. I don't think we're taking the position tonight or anytime soon that any specific upzoning should occur. But I think it would be a mistake to take upzoning off the table.
Okay. Oh, sorry, one more, two public comments. Okay, Ilan?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I missed a lot of the conversation, so maybe this is in there, but I'm just confused how we can be talking about a Manhattan plan that doesn't make any mention of reducing land marking requirements or removing them. I live on a street of probably 100 brownstones, 200 brownstones that have like 4 units, 5 units apiece. How much housing would we have if we let those go to 10, or we let those go more dense in some other way? But we can't, because 27% of tax lots in Manhattan are landmarked or in some landmark district. And so we can talk about preservation or we can talk about housing, but we can't have both here.
Thank you. Carolyn Messner?
She's the one who wanted to talk about ABC.
Oh, sorry. Okay, sorry. Okay, let's make a motion. Let's resolve this so we can move on to ABC.
Yeah, so I think the motion is, so we have our consensus on the SROs. We are going to not mention a square footage or a number of maximum units. On the new construction, we're going to mention that the post offices are federally controlled. And for the schools, we're going to specify that the playground remains. And then we are going to remove the St. Agnes Library. And then we also have already removed the mention of the some of the private sites, Zabar's and Basic Finance, right? And then on the rezoning, I would propose that we leave all of these in as possibilities for rezoning without adding the side streets as some have suggested.
So you're saying within all these locations, no side streets?
Correct.
I just want to know one thing here. When you talk about the smaller buildings on the side streets, it doesn't actually create housing, because if you're, I was just looking at 25 units or 25,000 square feet, you just contribute to a housing fund. And then you need some place to still put the housing, but that's not the builder's
You're talking about
responsibility.
TDRs, right? You're talking about TDRs?
Well, I think
That's
if we're not touching the side streets, then
Yeah.
we'll have this conversation after the meeting
Yeah.
ends. It's academically interesting, but irrelevant to
Okay,
this.
so made a
It
motion.
won't produce
I'll
anything.
second.
It won't
Second.
produce anything.
Okay, let's,
Can
all
you
in-
split the three? I would vote for the first two, but not the third.
what's the first one, 10 and 96?
No,
Sorry.
no, the first,
Oh,
the SROs and then the
Yes,
public sites.
Yes.
I would vote for that, but I would not vote for the third.
okay, so let's do
And
that.
for opposite reasons, maybe Adam will vote for it, or we'll have the opposite view.
Okay, can I have a second for that? Yes, okay, so the motion is to approve the SRO and the city/federal sites as explorations.
Can we vote on the sites? Can we do a motion to vote on the third?
Yeah, we'll do that after.
Separate,
Let's just
we're gonna
do this
split it,
one.
okay, just
Yeah,
what's going on.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, so all in favor of that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, and we've got.
Did you get Richard?
Oh, and Richard.
He had his hand
Yes,
up.
sorry, thank you. 10, anyone opposed? Any abstaining? Any for cause? Ineligible? No, okay.
I'm non-committee affirmative.
Non-committee one,
Yeah.
okay, and I think you're the only one. Okay, so that motion passes 10-0-0-0-1-0-0-0. Okay, third. Rezoning, do you want to restate it one more time?
We're going to rezone, propose being open to rezoning, these 5, transit hubs or nodes, as well as, these 2 corridors on Broadway and Amsterdam.
So, all in favor?
So, sorry, just to be clear, it's telling Department of City Planning that we want them to explore these sites, right? They're not actually doing any, they're not gonna rezone it, it's just to look at rezoning.
The whole concept here is like, transportation says,
Okay,
we
yeah,
want you to explore this,
yeah,
and whether they ever do or not,
okay, hopefully,
I don't
okay.
know.
Yes.
We are.
Got it.
I'm not clear on what we're voting on. In other words, these transit hubs, we're calling it, that there's potential. That there are there's.
I think what the city planning said, we want to know where people think we should look at building more housing in Manhattan. And we're saying on the Upper West Side, we think these are the areas that are most amenable to new housing.
And
So take a look and figure out which ones work, which ones wouldn't work.
And
That sort of
rezoning
thing.
to
And the way
get
to do it
MIH.
is to rezone to R11, so we have the MIH.
Within the vicinity of transit hubs, not the transit hubs themselves, right? We're talking about that.
Like, so for example, on 72nd Street, it would be along Broadway between 70th and 75th. And then just on 72nd between West End and Amsterdam. So, for example, this would be R11.
Okay.
It's huge. This isn't transit hub in the textbook.
On seven.
Yeah, I live on
Let's not get caught up on the name.
I know.
It's in
You
our
can call it a
version.
rezoning node, you call it a density node, we can make up any term. The key thing here is the changing of the zoning to R11 to include MIH and higher FAR.
Okay,
So you're not talking just about the transit hub being the 4 corners, you're talking about the whole corridor.
Going all the way to West End. So the buildings
On
on
one
West
street.
End,
and only on 72nd Street.
that's what I'm.
Which
Yeah.
are commercial and resident, combined
72nd
commercial
down
residential,
to West
brownstone
End.
buildings and
Well,
very
also
large
on
buildings.
86th Street.
That's a very
Yeah.
long street. Well, then you can just live on it.
Okay,
Call the question.
yes. Should we
Call
call
the
the question?
Sure.
Okay, all in favor of these 5 locations as Tibita suggested?
5 hubs and 2 corridors,
2
right?
corridors,
Yeah.
yes.
The sheet, yeah.
Right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
We have Richard.
Richard is
Yes,
yes.
yes.
Okay, so that's 6. All opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4.
What we're doing here is asking
Anyone-
Santa Claus for pony.
Anyone abstaining? Anyone ineligible? Okay,
And we
non-committee
live on
vote?
the Upper West Side, so we didn't put the pony.
I just need to, I'm gonna abstain. I may change my vote for board, but I need to learn more about this.
Okay, so it's 0, 0, 1, 0 for non-committee vote. Okay, thank you all.
Thank you
Yes.
also to the task force that worked all summer to come up with this.
Tibita's leadership, for sure, thank you. Okay, hold on, let me stop sharing this. Okay, we are now talking about the ABC Extell resolution regarding affordable housing. Yeah, do you wanna say anything, kick us off? Yeah, come join us. So we have already wordsmithed, I believe, the construction task force resolution, so that we voted on last week, ready to go. Affordable housing, should I pull that up or we? Yes, maybe?
I mean, what have you decided? I thought we were going to get an engineer to work with the community. I
Oh,
know
that's a
there
community
were
advisory.
articles out
That's the next resolution, right? I mean, next agenda item?
No, the community task force already passed in our
Oh,
last
yeah.
meeting.
I thought I saw something.
We've wordsmithed that, so that's done.
However, I think to answer this lady's question, the resolution does not include a request for the developer or anybody else to pay for a consultant for the community. It's silent about that.
Right.
On the other hand, that process seems to have gone successfully beyond just our having a resolution encouraging the creation of that task force, because the report that you guys sent out a few days ago indicates basically it's already getting going.
Yes, we have made a lot of progress on that, and Extell, to their credit, have been very responsive. We are separating out the construction task force from that request. So that request will be made. It actually has been made already. They just haven't responded to that. But it will be made again, but we didn't want to put that in the resolution. Separate the issues. Okay. Just give me 1 second, I'm almost there. Okay, affordable housing, here we go. Okay, this resolution is available on the website.
I couldn't find it.
It's on the agenda. Would you like to see? Here.
Can someone send it around? I mean,
It is available on the
Put it
website,
on the screen.
and it's on the screen.
There it is.
It's on the website. If you go to September agendas, you can find a link to it there. Okay.
Gil, do you wanna
No,
start
go
us
ahead.
off? No, go ahead, go ahead.
Okay,
I know
so,
what I want.
okay, you tell us when you're ready.
Sure.
Okay, so this resolution, there's a lot of preamble. The offer that was made by Mr. Barnett of Extell was essentially this table. He offered to essentially create 121 units of affordable housing spread across 2 different buildings with this mix. You see 103 studios, 7 1-bedrooms and 11 2-bedrooms. And the AMI bands were not discussed. Area median income bands were not discussed at that time. Both of the buildings are in the historic district, by the way, one of which was to be renovated, the other was to be torn down and rebuilt. What we are requesting here, if we get to our resolves, I don't know if I have to look at that, is we would like to shoot for a target. We would like the developer to provide 30% of the site's residential floor area as affordable housing, predominantly for families, 2 bedrooms or greater. For simplicity's sake, we decided to hew closely to the mandatory inclusionary housing, or MIH, options. There is one of these links here. This requirements of MIH takes you to the mandatory inclusionary housing fact sheet, which I think I have it here, I can circulate it. Which basically I'll circulate this, but basically it gives you different options for AMI bands as well as the distribution of those throughout the site. I think that's it.
And what I can add is we want 30% of, as you suggested. We have discussed this with HPD and city planning, and we need their support. Generally, as I understand it, the
developer would pay, first of all, according to God, we have to get the land for free. The second is that the certain percentage the developer would in fact underwrite life of building. But there are provisions, state and city, for a extra portion, of the 30% to be supported with perhaps Section 8, vouchers, state funding, et cetera, for the life of the building, or the life of the resident. So in other words, it is a very complicated, but could be worked out. We need the support of the state, HPD, and the city planning commission. I think that should be part of the resolution. We need their support.
Yes, it's in there.
Okay, I read it, but I'm just want to emphasize, those three
We can make
agencies, including the state, need support. Because in order to have a long-term financing deal, you need all of the above. And it's not impossible. Obviously, we need the support of the developer, but if he's gonna have a friggin' building that's extremely tall, then we need at least 300 units or whatever the percentage is of the square footage.
Yes.
30%. I'd ask for more if I had my way.
One other thing that we added is another request, again, a reiteration of our request to city planning to either rezone or in some other way require MIH on this site.
Give us a stake, is basically.
Exactly, give us some kind of standing in this process. Klari.
I'll just say that, we've been working on this for a long time, and I did study carefully the proposed resolution that Seema and Louisa sent around, and I made some suggestions that I think they adopted, and maybe some they didn't, but, I think we're there. I just want to say that the last time I saw whatever it is, I say, yes, let's vote.
This paragraph, the highlighted section is what is new, but it
Yeah.
needs to be wordsmithed a bit.
Right.
And Louisa's gonna help me with that.
Yeah, that's new.
Yeah, that came from.
Basically says what we just said, though.
Yes,
Yeah.
it does. Yes,
But as I'm sure Louisa has pointed out, the first two bullets are.
duplicative.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Other comments, or are we ready to call the question? I forgot about, Doug, and
Well, I
then
just
we'll
have
go
some
to.
quick, under the preamble, I mean, when I saw something, I think you said that a representative of Extell, it should say principal of Extell. That was, maybe you've already changed it. Gary Barnett is not a representative, he is a
He's
principal.
I just says, of Extell, is that okay?
I think before it said a representative, okay, you
Yeah,
texted.
I think the
It's fine.
representative
Got
is in.
changed to of Extell, which kind of covers.
Yeah, that's fine. So if I understand correctly, the total site is about 1.7 million square feet,
1.6.
1.6 million,
And 2.4 acres.
2.4 acres. So if rough math, 1.6 million, so I mean, we're doing 1.7. So right now with what he has offered, put on the table, about 87,000 feet, which is roughly 5%, 6%.
7
Yeah, it's like
It's
7%.
not
is what he's stating.
So we're asking for 30. So we're asking about 6 times as much as he's offering.
Make it 10.
It's aspirational.
Well, I think it's important that we're asking now based on, we're not saying he want this, we want 6 times as much. We're saying 30% is what is standard for MIH, and that's what we want.
Got it.
Yeah.
So I just want us to be careful. I think it's already been discussed here, is that when we always talk about square footage, and number of units is academic. And what I heard you say at a meeting, and I agree with you, Ira, was that you give us as much floor area and we'll deal with the breakdown of the
Correct.
units, because
Yeah.
when you have a bunch of micro units, on paper, it looks like you've given us so many units when really you haven't.
We made that
So it's the
clear.
FAR, it's
We
the,
made that.
Yes,
Yeah,
it's
so-
it's
Yeah.
30% of the site's
Right.
residential floor.
But
area.
also,
Right, but also-
MIH also talks about the percentage of 1 bedroom and 2 bedrooms.
yes, right, sure, the ratio of breakdown. The other thing is just, I've seen, and I don't see it here, but or maybe it was from Extell's point of view, the total number of units he's giving based upon the total number of units he's building, knowing that the number of units in the luxury building are gonna
Yes.
be 5,000 square feet, 10,000 feet, 5,500 feet, whatever it is. So the number of units, once again, is not
Yeah,
apples to oranges.
that's why it's done
We're
in
not
square
apples to
footage.
apples, right?
Yeah, yeah.
That's why the resolution's in square footage for exactly that reason.
Great, okay,
Yeah.
great, that's all I wanted to say, thank you.
Absolutely.
No, I think it's fine. We have to really, really push the agencies.
Yes.
Because he literally owns much of Manhattan right now, right? And he's developing 96th Street as an example. And so we have to really get these agencies to work with us, because he's gonna need them in the future.
Sure.
Hi, Joyce Silver. I am still concerned about the height difference that they're proposing, and do think that I represent the community saying that we don't want 120 floors. We really don't want it, and we want to see sampling. I don't see it yet, and it's 2 weeks out. So when will we see somebody who represents the community that is sampling the air as they're demolishing their site?
So there was an inspection by DEP and DOB.
And we sent that material to you. Did you
Yes.
get it?
Pardon me?
Yeah.
Yes.
DEP went there at my request, and they're watching it. I mean, I worry a little bit because I don't know.
But I do know that when the board was here 2 weeks ago, they requested a liaison with Extell. And they did request particle samplers.
That was me.
You, okay. Okay, so you were here and I'm thinking.
Seema, you're working on that.
Yeah,
You gotta-
We are working on the formation of a construction task force, yes.
Yeah, and
I'm-
can I just,
Hold on 1 second. Carolyn Messner has been patiently waiting. Carolyn, you're ready to talk?
Yes. So I don't think people are really considering the impact of this building on all of us. For one thing, for all of us who live, I happen to live at West 66th Street across the street. And what this is doing to our neighborhood is it's unconscionable, first of all. It's to have an Empire State Building in Midtown Manhattan, that's one thing, but to have it in a basically historic district is unbelievable. And the fact that everyone's just, that's fine, dust won't really affect you and your children will be just fine. That's really not true. That's not true. And also, it's very hard to get through by bus, or if there were an ambulance that was trying to get across on West 66th Street, they can't get through. Fire engines can't get through. Police. And so basically they're shutting down half of the street. The whole street. And sometimes they shut it off totally. And so I think we're not really looking at those implications at all. The people who live there, and we have babies in the building on West 66th Street, those babies are actually going to get sick. They're going to be breathing in all of this dust and pollution. It's it's unbelievable that we are just talking about affordable housing when I know that's an important issue. But this issue really goes to the heart of real estate just taking over the city is what they're doing. They've really taken over an area that was really a historic district. It was really an area that was just lovely. And now it's really going to be, it's changed the whole fabric of this area. And remember, you have to remember, this is a historic district. West 67th Street is historic district, and this West 66th Street is partially a historic district. So the whole thing is unconscionable. So I can't imagine that we spent the whole evening talking about affordable housing when indeed we all know that New York City does not have affordable housing for most people. And what we're seeing is the developers are developing buildings for the very wealthy, for billionaires to move into that building. You think that that's going to mix well with people with affordable housing people? The small little units that they're going to be given, as opposed to the huge units that they'll be given people who are going to be buying those apartments. And probably buying them actually for an international investment. Probably investments from China, Hong Kong, people who come to New York once in a while, or just want to have that investment. That's what that building is. It's an investment. I don't think people are going to actually live there.
Thank you.
May I add,
You've already gotten a chance to speak.
I just want to push back on that in that I think it's really important that we build a city that has buildings that are integrated with people of all income levels living together. I think that's really important to what makes this city and this country so great. So I just push back on the idea that we shouldn't have people of greater and lesser means living in the same building. I think that actually is really necessary, and a lot of the things we have in New York City, like rent stabilization, make that possible. So I apologize to, disagree with you so specifically, but I think that that's really important to me, and I think that's important to this community.
Maureen.
Yeah. First, I just want to acknowledge and thank you for your intervention a couple weeks ago. We feel, you heard us when we were here. The advocacy, like literally the day later, it was comical almost, the timing, Gail. The air was so accurate. I sent pictures. I did do 311, everything you guys told us to do. And sending DEP, we'll talk about, I'll tell you like what we would like, and what we would like, but it was spot on. I'll tell you the change that's happened. Before, they were bringing all the crap that they were taking out and they were crunching it on the street, and that's where you saw the dust.
Yes.
They are now doing it inside their building. So they have these inside the truck bay itself. So the dust and the stuff is now, I feel sorry for the people working inside, but that's
not my problem.
their issue. That's their issue. So the dust that we had on the street itself has not come back.
Okay, but I should warn DEP
we,
to make sure they continue
we
to do
saw
that.
immediate action thanks to your intervention and our communication at 311. So we're going to get more active on that.
Right.
What I'm keen to learn, and yes, we did pass the resolution for the, what are they calling it? Construction
Advisory Task Force.
CAC. So the Construction Advisory Council, great. And we agreed, take away our request to have them pay for our own rep. We still know what we're doing. So what we're doing now in the last 2 weeks, we are interviewing the types of individuals who could be that. We're going to get a budget. We're going to get a scope of work, almost like a pretend thing. So that, and then we're hoping that you will help us.
Sure.
Because you said you would advocate for this. So it's not just pie in the sky. We can say to Extell, here's what this individual would do. Here's why we feel strongly this. Here's how much that would be in time and cost. So we want to give you that as you make the ask so that it's very, very real. And then, yeah, I guess that's what I wanted to tell you we're doing, and then get from you. You said that there's been some progress in even the last 2 weeks on your end. So just tell me what our timeline is on getting this to you so we can do the big ask together.
Okay.
And then get the air monitoring going on a more frequent basis, but the turnaround time on the complaining was spot.
Well, I'm on top of DEP. They're coming by quietly on a regular basis.
Good. Yeah, it was bad that day.
Yeah, it was terrible.
So that's just what I wanted to update you on what we've been doing. We also have, as you know, Seema, a couple more buildings that have, wanted to be part of this. So I'll send you updated numbers and such.
Can you tell us how many buildings you're representing in the coalition? It was 13 last time.
14 now.
Great.
And 40 and 50 are, well, I'm talking to them soon. Since they had their own line of communication, we hadn't talked to them previously, but they've indicated they want to, Dan. So it's a holiday week. It's a clumsy week to get in touch with people, but so I will be up to 15, 16.
That's great. That's great.
And then, so I'll update you on all that.
Fantastic.
So that's, we've both been busy. So thank you for your advocacy.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Dan
and look,
Cohen.
just for the record, we don't want the 120-story building built either, but it's going to get built. So we're just on health and safety and quality of our life
for the next 10 years.
In the meantime,
why does it have to be built?
Sorry, hold on one
different
sec.
conversation.
That's a whole different
conversation.
Hold on one sec. Dan Cohen.
Oh, hey Dan.
You're ready to speak?
Yeah, I think it's been. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. I think it's been addressed just now, but again, 40 and 50 are most impacted compared to anybody. And I can assure you, as I mentioned earlier, our apartment is at the lowest point facing all of the construction. We hear it every day, and we understand the impact. I just guess we need to, the two issues have to be separated. One is construction related, and the other is a resolution about what the thing is going to look like. Both are equally important. And, you know, we tend to be all over the place on this, and trying to focus it would be really great if 40 and 50 were involved. Since the last meeting, we've had zero contact from this coalition in helping to join this thing together. We've raised it as an issue, and yet we haven't heard. And by the way, most of the information that was asked for at the very first meeting, we had it all and we're happy to share it. So reaching out is actually quite important. It's easy to reach me. That shouldn't be too complicated. I'm retired. I have a lot of time on my hands, so I'm flexible in terms of meeting with people. In fact, I met with 65 Central Park West this week because they themselves had concerns, and I introduced them to the developer so that they can have a sensible conversation rather than throwing grenades over the wall. And as it turned out, when people went out to look at Extell, they weren't violating any city ordinances or anything related to building code. So, you know, there's part of me says, yeah, we should all be working together. And you know what? We should all be working together. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I take one more public comment?
Just a point of fact, is this gentleman, the gentleman that was here,
Yes.
and his buildings optioned or sold their air rights to Mr. Reddick?
Yes.
Were they optioned or?
Interesting observation.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a point of fact. I mean, it's not a condemnation of what, it's just, I just would like to know because maybe.
It's absolutely true.
Shane?
Hi. Hi. Okay, just an observation. Hi, this is Shane Beglider on West 68th Street. I'm just hearing a conversation where there seem to be two parties, community and community board. And we're talking about a community advisory board. And I'm just hoping that the understanding is that this community advisory board includes the community. That this should not always be a dialogue between community and community board, but the community advisory board is going to be one entity representing both sides. Otherwise, it really doesn't make sense.
That is the intention.
Okay, so do you know at this point where you're headed as to who will be incorporated from the community? Because it seems these entities on 66th and 67th Street are presenting information, but not being invited yet to be a part of this community advisory board.
So it hasn't actually been formed. It's a construction advisory task force, to be specific. Once we pass the resolution at the full board, we will form the actual task force and invite the members. So,
okay,
in the
but
meantime,
the strong advice is that these people who are doing a lot of work right now know that the inclination is to include them in the construction advisory.
Of course, absolutely.
It's Gail.
Hi, Gail.
They're gonna be included.
I'm not looking to be included. But having said that, Gail, I want to just raise one other very quick point. You know, the matter came down to that DEP approved burning. I hope that the community and everyone has learned its lesson that burning should not be required at this site, and DEP be spoken to that no permits regarding burning be permitted again, at least in the near future. I mean, something that gets burned implies that it's too dangerous to remove from the site. So if it's dangerous to remove from the site, why burn it at the site?
Jane, I'll check with them. It's a good point, because they came the day after that happened, but I will check with them. Thank you.
Yeah, these permits, these requests is how Extell is getting ahead of us. You know, they know how to work the system. The system is to get.
Jane, we don't want to stay on top of them. Believe you me, we're doing it. We're doing it.
No, staying on top of them is one thing. I understand that, but the direction is they know they're going to pull permits. I believe we have to try to stop the permits before they get issued. Thank you.
Thanks, Shane. Doug, you had a question?
No, I just wanted to clarify and what a construction advisory task force essentially is, and I think we're conflating some issues here, that is going to be stakeholders within the community, residents, community board, city council, and whomever else.
Bid representatives.
And Extell and BID, yes, the business improvement districts, and it'll be on a regular basis, and it mostly is about safety, logistics, and keeping everybody honest and timing,
yes,
flaggers, when the construction trucks are coming, and when everything, our transportation, our buses, all of it. That's generally what it is. Then we're talking about a lot of other stuff right now about affordability and everything else, but it seems like the task force, it was good news to hear that Extell agreed to be part of that, and that's good. That's it.
Okay, any last round of comments? I see, Carolyn, one last comment.
So I don't know how many of you have walked along the construction site, because you have to walk under to go from one street to the next. You could cross the street, but you can smell pollution there. I mean, it is sickening actually. And when I see people strolling, rolling a baby carriage of a newborn or a very small child, I think how destructive that is to their lungs. I work in healthcare. I work in oncology. I know the dangers that these people are being exposed to. So you can't pretend that they're doing all this stuff inside and none of it's coming outside. You can't do that. You can do only so much and not have it seeping out. So you should all try walking along the pathway that they have created next to that site. And you can hear the noise of the construction, and you can also smell the debris. There's no way you can keep that debris from coming out. It just isn't possible. And it also, the other thing that I'm really concerned about is the health going down 66th Street. If you needed an ambulance or a fire truck or both, or you needed, it's very difficult to get past during heavy traffic for those things to get past. So that means somebody could die because they couldn't get that ambulance down the street. And that I do know. That's definitely an issue. And the other issue is a fire truck. If there's a fire or even a fire in the Extell building, how are they going to get to it? How are they going to get to people to reach them? So there is, beyond what we're talking about here, this is a very large issue for people who live in the neighborhood, who walk underneath that bypass that the Extell has set up. This doesn't work.
Yeah. Got it.
Can
Thank
I,
you.
just to keep things moving,
Yes, please.
since we're not hearing a lot of comments on the resolution, that
Yes.
should
good
we
point.
just vote on the one that Gail said was good?
Yes, let us make, okay, that's a motion.
Sorry, I would make a motion.
Thank
that we
you.
vote on.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor of the affordable housing resolution? 1, 2, 3, 4,
Thank you.
5, 6, 7, 8.
Richard.
Richard,
Oh, he can't
oh,
vote.
sorry, you're,
And Iris
right.
in the bathroom, so I think.
Ira, you yes? On the affordable housing resolution?
Richard's muted.
I abstain.
Yeah.
No, not abstain. Ineligible.
Yes.
Different.
The resolution for the affordable housing.
9.
Okay, yeah, sure.
So that's 9, 0,
001.
1, 0, 1.
If
right.
I were allowed to vote, I would vote for it.
Thank you.
He's cause, not abstention.
That's
So
right.
it's
Yes,
90001. Yeah.
I'm non-committee, yes.
1. Okay, 1, 0, 0, 0. Okay.
A California zip code and then a New York zip code.
You have an extra 0. Are we
Oh.
done?
Oh.
Okay, I think we have one more comment. Are you sure? We're here? Are you sure?
Well, I very much like to see this get moving because they're moving along
Yes.
and we aren't. And we need to get this going, communication.
For safety and all
Yeah,
that.
so
It's happening, Carolyn's talking about the blockage of the streets. They haven't even begun yet on 67th Street side.
Yeah.
We're gonna have one lane, they're gonna have trucks, they're gonna have construction. It's a nightmare.
It took
And-
away,
and
it
it's
took
just-
away all of
it's
our parking.
forget that, and this is also a street where hundreds of people walk their baby carriages to the park. How are they gonna do that? There'll be 3 or 4 streets, consecutive streets that will be compromised with crosstown traffic, 2 of which are crosstown bus routes.
Yeah. The bus is a nightmare right now.
It is.
So, and I don't know anything about this, but maybe you guys do. Lighting 24/7 at a construction site is a nightmare for us. Why do they have to keep their lights on? That'll be one of the issues that I feel strongly about.
There are some safety requirements with lighting and such.
Right. But I think you're talking about in the construction.
Yeah, like they leave the lights on.
Up in the building itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, not the sheds.
One last comment, Joyce.
Can I?
Let me suggest that we refer these issues to the Transportation Committee and see what input they can have on this.
We'll take it on.
Yeah, sure. That's a great idea. Thank you.
I have concern that this 120-story building is a fait accompli, and I don't understand why we cannot landmark our street to go with all the other streets in the area, and that we get the building down lower. I don't see why we can't have affordable housing without having maximum height, because that is an eyesore. It is going to block Central Park. It is too much density for our neighborhood. As it is, we can put trucks through. We have double and triple parking. You maybe get 1 truck through at a time. And so when this gets going, it's going to be horrific. And I think it is just too much. And I don't
Joyce,
think.
the short answer is that part of that area is landmarked, but that particular site not only was not landmarked, it had separate minimal zoning. The 1,200 story building or 1,200 foot building is as of right. And there were several premises in your question that were inapplicable to the site. There may be some people that want a 1,200 story foot building. Many people don't, but it's as of right.
That's okay.
I don't see why we can't rezone it, because it happened 45 years ago.
We tried.
Yeah, we tried for years.
It's sitting on their desk. They
Well,
have
now,
not.
why can't we do it with a new administration, whatever that administration is?
When that happens, we can certainly discuss it.
Landmark West has been working on this for years.
With you guys.
With us, yeah.
Yeah, with you guys.
We had joint resolution.
But it seems that all over Manhattan, I'm hearing, this is as of right, that is as of right. And that's why we don't have affordable housing. That's why we have no control over our skyline whatsoever. I mean,
I think we need to draw the meeting to a close. Can I have a motion?
Yes.
Motion to adjourn.
First one I've ever made, but yes.
Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
So,